The State of Crypto is presented by Tron, connecting the world to the power of cryptocurrency.
So remember when we were joking about how basically everybody has a newsletter now? Well, Sam Bankman-Fried is speaking out again. The former FTX CEO is actually launching a Substack. And joining us to discuss this is CoinDesk Global Policy and Regulation Managing Editor Nick Day, who is also the editor of CoinDesk's State of Crypto newsletter. So Nick, is this for real? Like, what is this about?
Good morning. I am astounded, honestly. This is... this is an individual accused of some pretty serious crimes and who is currently facing trial, and he's putting out a Substack. And I'm going to be honest, like, the Substack itself, there's not a lot that's really new in it. A lot of it reiterates what Sam Bankman-Fried has previously said about, what he thinks happened with Alameda and FTX. It reiterates his defense that he believes, nothing criminal or untoward happened, that it was all a big accident. He spoke a little bit about the whole Alameda balance sheet situation. So nothing really new in it. He also doesn't address a lot of the allegations that have come to light since FTX first filed for bankruptcy, namely, claims from new CEO John Ray III, who has said that there was some really untoward behavior. So, doesn't really take or provide a clear explanation about the whole line of credit situation, about the allegations that Alameda received special treatment from ordinary liquidation processes at FTX, things like that. He also doesn't really address any of the criminal, accusations, and he doesn't even really, provide a real explanation as to the whole, claim that he's made in the past that this was all, independent of him. I mean, he continues on with that thread, but as far as explanations go, this really is just kind of a reiteration of things that he has said, on Twitter and on various events and to various reporters over the past 2 months.
Nick, we're kind of getting into speculative territory here, but you wrote this great piece about Sam's tweeting compulsion, and you talked to a bunch of lawyers who are like, why won't he just stop? Is it possible? And again, speculation here. Do you think he's getting legal advice? Do you think maybe part of the reason why he's not saying anything new or it's repetitive is that he's finally attorneys are reviewing what he's saying? What is your opinion?
It's very possible. I mean, that is definitely one interpretation, but I also find it difficult to believe that his, any criminal defense attorney would say, oh yeah, Substack in general is a good idea. If this is a situation where, his lawyer said, don't do it, and he did it anyway, yeah, I can see that happening. It's also possible that he just doesn't have more to share or, doesn't want to share more. One thing that's kind of, running through my head right now is, if this does go to a full trial, that's going to have to be the most offline jury in the world, right? Anyone who's on Twitter or who's on the internet has probably seen something about FTX at this point. And, a jury, you're going to have to find people who don't know what the phrase cap table means. It's really interesting, but also just, very unusual.
I wonder if that's his tactic.
He
did post a cap table. Did it show any new information?
I don't think so, but I also don't recall exactly what he's posted in the past off the top of my head. But a lot of what he said is the same as what he said before. So, I'd have to review more carefully, but I think a lot of the figures are pretty similar to, what he said before. Obviously, this is missing the whole, poorly labeled internal fiat address thing that he had in a previous balance sheet. And, what exactly he's making of that unclear. It's also worth noting that he did say, once again, that he doesn't have access to his old accounts and doesn't have, the actual information from directly from the source. It's just his own recollection. So these figures, I imagine, should come with a big grain of salt because he's working off memory at this point, or whatever documents he happens to have on him.
What's next hearing-wise, either with the FTX Bahamas hearings or... but I believe his hearing with the DOJ is until October.
Yeah, so there's currently a trial date of October, but Bankman-Fried actually has until April to file a response to the DOJ complaint. I'm not sure. I think he's also at some point going to have to respond to the CFTC and the SEC complaints. I don't know what the timeline is for those. But, the specific actual criminal charge responses aside, there's also still the FTX bankruptcy hearings. There was one yesterday that lasted for, I think, around 4 hours or so. And, a lot of the questions that we've seen pertaining to this criminal investigation are probably going to come up in the bankruptcy investigation. Namely, where are the funds, what happened to the funds, and, how much is recoverable. And we got a bit of an update on that. The FTX attorneys said that they had recovered about $5 billion or so worth of assets. And that's a combination of crypto, other investment securities, and cash. So sign of hope for FTX creditors, but hopefully we'll get a bit more explanation from them as to just how they recovered these funds and where they were. And that'll give us a better idea of what might have happened to the actual companies that led to the illiquidity and then insolvency issues.